Don't forget to send me a postcard from the Muppet Studios.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I can't do that, Walter.
But, Gary...
Because... you're coming with us!
Book your next Disney vacation with Kristen Hetzel of Magical Journeys Travel, an unconventional agency for the unconventional client. Magical Journeys is dedicated to finding the best pricing for your next magical journey.
Wait a minute, I love that idea.
Kristen will work hard to save you money and give you the quality of service you deserve. As a well-established agency and an authorized Disney vacation planner, Magical Journeys Travel has many years in the travel industry and dealing with the infamous Disney reservation system. Let Kristen help you plan your next magical journey. To book travel or for a free quote, please contact Kristen Hetzel at www.magicaljourneys.travel.com/Kristen. Follow her on Twitter at Kristen Hetzel.
Right! Come on, everybody.
Magical Journeys, an authorized Disney vacation planner.
Going to be a force for good and a very important sorcerer.
The following is an original production of the Sorcerer Radio Network.
Are you insane?
Broadcasting live from Music City.
Walt Disney's
WDW Tiki Room, the show about all things Disney.
Hey, Michael, mi amigo, pay attention, it's showtime.
So it is, and what darling people I have sitting under me.
With Kristen and Aljon.
We better start the show rolling.
If that intro of that last medley sounded familiar, the people doing it was Mark Summers of Double Dare fame, as well as Tempest Bledsoe from The Cosby Show. That was actually a medley of songs the Beach Boys and the Fat Boys performing live at Disney's Grand Floridian Resort for the very first time, Walt Disney World's 4th of July Spectacular. I believe that was in 1988, and it was the first time the Beach Boys ever performed Kokomo live. And in fact, I believe they were lip-syncing, to be honest, but at that point, they actually included some of that footage in the Kokomo video, the official Kokomo video. Happy July 4th. It's Aljon, and I am here hanging out with you, and I hope you're having a safe and wonderful Independence Day, celebrating it with family. I'm going to hopefully be with mine shortly. I got stranded where I was here broadcasting from the hotel right now, and hopefully we'll be back home really soon. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed. We had some inclement weather, so they canceled all of our flights home. So I hope you're having a good and safe time with your family. Don't forget to be responsible and be on the lookout for people that are irresponsible. So having said that, we're going to have a good time today. We have got a very special guest joining us for today's show. It's a voice actor, director, and just a really all-around nice guy. Voice actor Stephen Stanton, who not only has played so many great roles on Star Wars, The Clone Wars, many video games, but a lot of stuff for Disney. You might know him as the voice of Mystic Manor, but you'll also know him really soon as the voice of Sleepy on Disney's The 7D. You know, that cartoon that is based on the Seven Dwarfs? Well, we've got that coming up. It's going to be premiering on Disney XD, Disney Channel, Disney Junior on July 7th. So we have just a few more days until that premiere. And to boot, you want to get a jump on it, you can go ahead and actually download the show on iTunes right now. And I believe it's for free, if I'm not mistaken. So go ahead and get that happening. To boot, we also have got our man from up north, Dan Barnes with Disney 411. And my gosh, he's got a lot of stuff to talk about. And, it's all about sequels. His Hollywood run out of original ideas? It's interesting. But Disney, I'm sure, will definitely do well with all the sequels they have coming up. We've got Enchanted 2, Pirates 5, and Hocus Pocus 2. That may be on the horizon. So that's all good stuff. So Dan's going to speak on that here in just a little bit. I tell you what we'll do. Right now, before we launch into our interview with Stephen Stanton, why don't we take a listen to this really cool clip from the 7D, coming to you on the 7th, debuting on Disney XD, Disney Channel, and Disney Junior.
And now, a sneak peek at the 7D, premiering on Disney XD.
All right, Sneezy, same drill. I'll get the spider to come out and then you trap him.
You got it, Grumpster.
Where are you, Spidey? I know you're here. Come on out, little guy. I'm not gonna hurt you. You can't hide from me.
That is one very jumpy little guy.
What are you scared of? That spider's not that big.
You can handle him. You really think so?
Oh, come on. It's just a spider.
Help! Where are you? There's a spider in here!
What are you afraid of, Grumpy? You caught the spider last time.
Yeah, you can do it again.
And if you still need our help, just give a little whistle.
You really think I can handle this? Absolutely.
Sure!
All right. Stand back. Get him, boy.
You go get him!
You're a grunt machine.
Yeah.
Premieres Monday, July 7th at 10/9 Central on Disney XD.
WDW Tiki Room, the show about all things Disney on Sorcerer Radio. And Kristen and I are back with one of our favorite guests. In fact, you chose him as one of your favorite guests here not too long ago for one of our holiday specials.
Did, that's right. We did our holiday special of choose your favorite guest.
Well, once again, he is the man of 1,000 voices, and he can be seen or heard, actually, in the brand new Disney XD series, The 7D. Please welcome back Stephen Stanton. Hello.
Hey, Aljon and Kristen. Good to be back.
Oh, it's so good to have you. It's good to hear your voice.
Thank you so much.
Now, the last time we had seen each other in person, which is great, it's great that we can say that, I believe was at the D23 Expo in 2013, was it not?
Was that 2013? Was it 2 years ago? Yeah, it was after the Voices of the Parks panel that we did there, which was a lot of fun to do.
My gosh, it's always so much fun to see the voice actors, and I tell you, just from being in the audience, not at at this one and of course the last one, we get such a big kick out of hearing everybody and seeing the people behind the voices. Kristen, wasn't it just a highlight of your experience?
I think that was my favorite thing that we did at D23.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course now, look at you. You've got the new series, the 7D. For those of the uninitiated, you haven't seen the show promos on Disney XD. Stephen, can you tell us a little bit about what the 7D is all about and what role you play?
Sure. The 7D is, of course, short for the Seven Dwarfs from Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. This is not the Snow White story. This is probably happening maybe before Snow White in Jollywood. And the Seven Dwarfs are at the beck and call of Queen Delightful and Lord Starchbottom, and they kind of keep order in the kingdom. And I play Sleepy, and he kind of sounds a little bit like this. I do a lot of that in there.
It's interesting. I've seen the show promos, and people can actually get a preview of the show, actually the entire episode right now, if they go on iTunes, which is excellent. But it's funny. I listen to the voice of you doing Sleepy, and I think to myself, is this character based on anyone in real life? Because I know you do so many voice matching, so much voice matching. You do the imitations of different people. Who is the character Sleepy actually based on, or is it based on reality at all?
I don't think so. It's one of those things where I looked at the drawing and sort of formulating a voice based on that. Because I do one of the voices of the original Seven Dwarfs. I do Happy,
right?
And we actually just had another a big attraction at Walt Disney World open up there, the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train.
Is that right?
So, there's that whole thing that's going on. As a matter of fact, what's funny is that, there's a game for the TV show called the 7D Mine Train. Disney put out a commercial that says, they show a bunch of people riding the ride at Walt Disney World, and they say, can't get enough of the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train? Well, now you can continue the experience by getting the 7D Mine Train app, which is kind of a cross between the two different sort of Seven Dwarf iterations there. But getting back to your question, it's not really based on anything more than looking at the drawing. They really wanted us to stay away from what had been done with the original Seven Dwarfs and kind of invent something new based on the character design and the feel for this new show.
I really dig it. It's got that fishhooks look to it, which I really dig. It's it's very, very cool. And your character of Sleepy, it definitely sounds like it should be coming out of that sleepy body. And I was going to ask you, how long ago, because I remember speaking to Bill Farmer about this not too long ago, and Bill Farmer plays the voice of Doc in the show, and he's also the legendary voice of Goofy.
And he also does Happy. He does Sleepy in the original Seven Dwarfs.
Yes.
So there's a lot of crossover back and forth.
I was going to say, yeah, he does so many different voices, as do you. So how long ago did Disney approach to bring you onto this project? It seems like it's been in development now for a while.
Yeah, I think I first saw an audition for it. My first sides for it were back in 2011. And it's gone through some changes, back and forth with story and character design and stuff like that. So yeah, it's been quite a while that all of us have been involved in it, dying to talk about it. Thank goodness finally it's coming out this summer, so we can actually tell everybody how proud we are of this show.
Well, it looks amazing. And the voice cast that you have and that's been assembled is a star-studded cast. I mean, it's basically a who's who in voiceover. I mean, you, and of course reuniting with D. Bradley Baker from Star Wars: The Clone Wars, voicing Dopey, Maurice LaMarche for Grumpy. It's kind of like a big Star Wars reunion. Billy West, of course, who's been Batman, is playing Bashful. I mean, hello, that's a lot of people up in there.
As a matter of fact, in one of the first interviews we did for this, for a radio station in Ireland, they dubbed us the Avengers of voiceover.
Oh my gosh, that's right. Isn't that what you posted on your Facebook page? That was amazing.
Yeah, it was such a great way of sort of framing that group of people, because they've done so many different things. And it's great to be working with all those guys. The cast is so big. Kelly Osbourne is also on it, Jess Harnell, and Jay Leno, Goldberg. I mean, it's such a huge main cast, and then you've got also the recurring characters and the ancillary characters and guest stars. I mean, I've never worked with so many people. As a matter of fact, cast is so big that usually the 7D, the Dwarfs, we always just record together as a group, or as much as we can, just so we get that sort of continuity of the guys talking back and forth between each other.
Well, that's interesting you say that, because I was curious how the voice sessions go. I know that when you had done different projects, whether it be for Star Wars: The Clone Wars or Disney Parks, that you're kind of doing things in your own little studio. Maybe not a whole lot of people there, maybe the engineer and the voice director, the director of the project. But are you able to sit with the rest of the cast and interact with them in kind of the way the Seven Dwarfs kind of interact?
Whenever everyone's schedule allows it. I mean, and that's true for a lot of things. Like even for the Clone Wars, they always tried to get as many of us in there as possible to record together. I mean, sometimes we had as many as 11 people in the room. In particular, in those last episodes, the finale episodes, we had all, because they have the studio that we recorded at LA Studios, Studio F. They actually enlarged it while we were doing the Clone Wars. We took Christmas break, we came back, and they had knocked down a wall and made this room enormous so that we get all these people in there.
Wow.
So it really helped out, to have the cast together. The 70s, we try to get the Dwarves together as many times as they can. Sometimes they just can't do it because we're all working on different things and our schedules collide. But it's great when we do get to work together, because the dialogue is so funny and there's so much comedy. That relies so much on timing. It's really good to have the other person there to listen to what they're doing so you can react appropriately.
I was going to say, you having the voice actors there for some of the sessions I've been able to catch online have been really great, because you really are not just voice acting or speaking into the microphone as a lot of people think. That's what you do. It's like that meme. This is what the world thinks I do. This this is what I really do. And then you look and you interact with each other. You have the facials and the body mannerisms that actually come out, because, you know, a lot of people may not realize this, Stephen, but, you know, you come from an acting background, a directing, filmmaking background, and, you know, I would assume all that stuff is just really important in order to get the best performance out of the voice actors.
It is. I mean, sometimes with some shows or some projects, you know, either budget gets in the way or time constraints, and, you know, you don't really get the time that you would really love to have. Disney really tries to make sure that, you know, we do have the time, we do have the people there to make it all work. Even when someone isn't there, they will play back the lines that were recorded by the other actor, so you can judge, you know, the performance and make a call based on, oh, this is the way they said that line, so now I deliver my lines this way.
Right.
So they're really good about that. You know, about taking the actor in consideration.
That's cool.
Yeah, we're here with Stephen Stanton on WDW Tiki Room, and we're talking about his latest project, The 7D, which is going to be on Disney XD. In fact, you can find the pilot right now on iTunes, and the show will be debuting on July 7th, just right around the corner. I'm very excited about that. And
I think it's actually going to debut on all 3 Disney networks: Disney XD, Disney Junior, and the Disney Channel.
Wow,
that was what I heard.
Oh, very good. Oh, very cool.
I'm pretty sure that I saw, I know I've seen ads on the Disney Channel. I somehow get addicted to the Disney Channel every summer.
That's what happens when you're not watching Once Upon a Time. That's what happens. You're not watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or you know, The Walking Dead. Kristen's there on the Disney Channel watching other stuff.
Good Luck Charlie.
Good Luck Charlie.
Josie, all those shows. But I know I've seen ads for the 7D, and I thought I had seen it, that they were going to be playing it there.
You know, the thing I love about Disney Animation, Disney Channel, Disney XD, is that the shows are so smart. You know, you have the 7D, which, you know, obviously since they're debuting at all the networks, appeal to a wide variety of children and people like us who are young at heart, kind of like, you know, Gravity Falls or, you know, Phineas and Ferb and different things like that. What's it like for you to be working on the project of the 7D and playing Sleepy? Is it cool for you to kind of get into this new series and kind of play a character that's kind of iconic with your own twist, I guess?
You know, it's great. One of the great things about working on the 7D is that we've got Tom Ruger as the showrunner on this, and he was responsible for bringing us Animaniacs and Pinky and Brain. So he has a really zany sense of humor, and he brings that to the show. And you know, it's great working with all these other guys. You know, one of the things that a lot of times you'll hear stories about in voiceover sessions is, you know, people cutting up and cracking up and doing jokes and things like that. And especially when it's all guys, you know, and when the 7D are together, it's just, you know, it's a group of men all in the room, and they have a tendency to get kind of crazy. But in this particular show, that's not the case. The material is so good. The writing is so sharp, so funny. Most of the time when we're cracking up, it's just because the scene is so funny. You know, there's not a lot of time to fool around, and we don't really get inspired to do that because the show is so good. We just love, you know, working on it.
You know, it's funny. Kristen was talking about the Disney Channel. Of course, one of your fellow voice actors, Lee Allen Baker.
That's the mom from Good Luck
Charlie. Speaking of an all-male cast, you actually have her and Kelly Osbourne to contend with, as well as, you know, I know that Whoopi Goldberg is in there in the future and doing some episodes with you. What's it like working with maybe some of these other actors that may not be necessarily known for their voice acting? For example, Kelly Osbourne. You know, I don't look at Kelly and go, oh, wow, she's a prolific voice actor, you know. But what's it like working for her? Is it pretty cool?
Well, actually, the 7D, all the guys that play the 7D, we haven't recorded with Kelly or any of the other people that are in the Jollywood part of the show. Because, like, the cast is so big, so it's just usually us, the dwarfs, 7D, you know, recording together. So I have not had a chance to work with Kelly. You know, I've met her and everything. We had, you know, the big screening with cast and crew over at Disney, Disney Studios, where we all got together as a group. Finally got to see it together as a group. Nice. But haven't worked together.
Yeah, I think of Kelly Osbourne and I immediately think of her red carpet coverage. I think she's going to be judging everybody by the looks of their clothes. I'm just joking. Stick around. More with voice actor Stephen Stanton of Disney XD's The 7D when we come back.
Rebel Force Radio,
your source for the Force.
Star Wars news and commentary
with Jason Swank and Jimmy Mack.
I've seen Star Wars 500 times.
Weekly live shows and podcasts.
RFR.
Like Rebel Force Radio on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
Rebel Force Radio.
Your new source for the Force.
Rebel Force Radio with Jason Swank and Jimmy Mack. Saturdays at 7 p.m. Eastern on Sorcerer Radio. SRSounds.com.
Pardon the interruption. I have some news which I believe you will find most interesting.
Would you like to hear the latest in Marvel television, film, and comic book news? Are you looking for some suggestions on what to pick up on New Comic Book Day? Well, join Mike and Ken every Saturday night at 8 p.m. on Mighty Marvel Geeks here on Sorcerer Radio, your source for all things Marvel.
There is a matter that requires your attention.
Mighty Marvel Geeks, assemble!
All wrapped up here, sir. Will there be anything else?
Are you looking for some fun on Facebook with fellow Disney fans? Then you need to join the Sorcerer Radio Disney Fun Zone. The Fun Zone is an exclusive online gathering place where young and old alike can come and share their love of all things Disney in a family-friendly atmosphere. It'll also be your place for exclusive downloads, images, giveaways, and more. Join us online by going to facebook.com and searching for Sorcerer Radio Disney Fun Zone. That's the Sorcerer Radio Disney Fun Zone, part of Sorcerer Radio, SRSounds.com.
The WDW Tiki Room with Kristen and Aljon, the radio show about everything Disney. Sorcerer Radio, SRSounds.com. It's America's birthday. And we're celebrating America's independence all week with patriotic Disney music on Sorcerer Radio, SRSounds.com.
WDW Tiki Room with Kristen and Aljon.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is
Sorcerer Radio, srsounds.com.
Get plugged in.
What about one of them mousey little doohickeys?
Disney pop culture news. It's the 411. 411.
Sequels, and more sequels. This has been a crazy week of news and rumors in terms of cinematic follow-ups to some of our favorite movies. Let's start with the confirmed stuff, shall we? Originally rumored to be getting a sequel in 2010, Walt Disney Pictures is moving forward on Enchanted 2. The film has a script in the works, and of course, Amy Adams and Patrick Dempsey are said to be returning, with no filming dates or tentative release dates announced yet. Next up, Jerry Bruckheimer finally gives us some clarification on Pirates of the Caribbean: Dead Men Tell No Tales. The franchise's producer confirms that he has read the script for the 5th installment in the adventures of Captain Jack, and lets us know that it's a bit toned down from On Stranger Tides. Pirates 5 will begin shooting in early 2015, looking to set sail into theaters in the summer of 2016. Lastly, the biggest rumor of the week was breaking news that actress, writer, and comedian Tina Fey was involved producing a sequel to Disney's 1993 Halloween classic Hocus Pocus. Now, the report was later shot down by Fey's representatives, and after a collective "aw man" by the Disney fan community, it was then said that Tina Fey is in fact working on some other untitled movie about witches for Disney, while also saying that Hocus Pocus 2 is still a possibility. Sounds like somebody might have let the proverbial cat out of the bag. And where there's smoke, there's a fire underneath a bubbling cauldron. I'm Dan Barnes, wishing you a very safe and happy 4th of July. To get your 411 on all the Disney and pop culture news, get plugged in on srsounds.com.
Back on WDW Tiki Room, the show about all things Disney, with the very talented voice actor Stephen Stanton, who's going to be playing Sleepy on Disney XD, Disney Channel's brand new series, The 7D. It's an interesting story. The fact that it takes place in Jollywood, that there's no Snow White and everything like that. Was it kind of difficult for everybody to kind of get in that vein of, well, this is the Seven Dwarfs that you might know, but there's a twist, it may not be the stories that people know. What was it like kind of putting your spin and having everyone, the directors and the writers and everybody kind of put their spin on what was a classic group of characters?
Yeah, I don't think it was too hard because, this show was so, everything was so well identified and the characters were so well, rounded out, and the place was very much, was described in detail to us. So we got a feel for it very early on. It's not the Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs sort of, I don't want to know what do you call it? Scenario, for lack of a better word. It's something completely different, but it was so well written that it was easy to kind of like step in and figure out where this show was going. And there's a lot of cool elements into it that I think a lot of people will appreciate, like in Grim and Hildy Gloom's their house. Very much kind of like, it's got some very haunted mansion elements in it. If you got a keen eye, you'll spot those when you watch the show. So there's a lot of things in there that people will enjoy, especially if they're fans of classic animation. Because the great thing about this show is it's done in 2D. Classic animation is not being done with computer graphics. Yeah,
Definitely. I can't wait to see those little Easter eggs, those little nods to the hardcore Disney fans. Speaking of that.
Yeah, you had mentioned before the tie-in with the app of the show and the attraction at Walt Disney World. Have you ridden that attraction yet?
No, I haven't had a chance to go to Florida yet and ride it. I've seen videos. My agent, Pat, was down there, and she took a lot of pictures there for me so I could see it, but I haven't had a chance to go there myself, but I'm looking forward to it.
I can tell you that it's a brilliant ride.
Thanks, great. I mean, we had a lot of fun, all of us had to go in there to the Imagineering studios and record the songs and all that for that, which was a lot of fun to do.
Wow, what was that like doing the music? I was going to say it definitely has, the old style, music that's in there from the film that people know and love. What was it like going in there and singing?
Well, that was great. Usually when we have done singing before as the Doors, like on Disney on Ice and things like that, we've all recorded separately. And this was the first time we all had to record together as a group, which we had not done before. So it was a little bit of a, they had to wrangle us like, we're not a singing group like the Beatles or something like that. We've never done that before. So there was some time spent trying to get all of us to, like sing in unison, get all that down. But all in all, it was a fun time. People like Bob Joles and Corey Burton.
Oh yeah.
It wasn't as it wasn't as hard as one of the other Imagineering jobs, which was learning Cantonese for the Lord Henry Mystic character in Hong Kong Disney.
Well, now this is a great transition, because as we talked and we had actually played back some of the clips from our coverage of D23 Expo, you are the voice over there in the Mystic Manor. How did that all come about? I mean, when I think of Cantonese, I typically don't think of a U.S. voice actor, voicing that role. I mean, what was that like for you?
Ah, yes, Lord Henry Mystic, Well, I don't think he speaks Cantonese very well, which was part of the whole idea of that particular character.
He was supposed to be, a British character at the turn of the last century, I guess, or the century before that, somewhere in the 1800s, early 1900s, world traveler, collector of artifacts, things like that. And I spoke a lot more Cantonese in the original draft of the script that they gave me, but then they decided to jettison a lot of that and have him speak primarily English with just a little bit of Cantonese. But it was really hard the first day because I don't speak it. We had a dialogue coach there. I remember the look of horror on his face when he asked me. He said, "So how long have you been speaking Cantonese?" And I said, "Well, I start in about 5 minutes here when you teach me."
That's
it took a couple hours, to lay the tracks down, and it was really difficult to do because there's so much Cantonese based on intonation.
Right. Oh my gosh, and
which I think was part of the reason why they decided not to use it, because my character had such an affected way of speaking.
He's always talking like this, very precise and very over the top. It's hard to speak another language.
Yeah, absolutely. Gosh, I couldn't imagine, just that on the job training. But you see, that's what makes you the pro you are. They just call you in, and it's like, by the way, can you do this Cantonese accent? Can you do this? Pull off this Finnish accent, you can do it, you can kind of fake your way through it.
That's one of the things that you have to be ready for as a voiceover actor. People usually just, they make an assumption right from the get-go that you can do anything, so you kind of have to be prepared to do anything the best you can.
Right, well, that's great. Well, you see, that's why you'll always have work. Stephen Stanton's our guest right now, voice actor, man of 1,000 voices, of course, going to be on the 7D. It's going to be on the Disney Channel and Disney Junior, Disney XD this week. It's going to be coming out. In fact, you can check out that show right now on iTunes. We talked a little bit about the park stuff that you have been doing, and we'll circle back to the video games in just a little bit, but is there anything maybe that you're working on in the future? I know that you're always working on stuff, but you can give us a little bit of a hint, and I know you can't, but I'm just saying, I have to ask if you're working on anything.
No, there's nothing I can hint about right now. I mean, it's all good stuff. Anything that I'm working on for Disney is going to be, top secret till it's time for it to be released.
You see now, Sorcerer Radio listeners, I had to ask a question, and you had it, and you got it from Stephen's mouth there. He's sworn to secrecy, but you can't say I never asked.
Disney probably makes you sign in blood or something.
Probably, probably.
Sign. A lot of the things that voiceover actors work on require non-disclosure agreements, NDAs. We sign those things left and right. It's part of our daily life anymore these days.
Oh, there you have it. Now, we had talked at the top about the different film projects that you've been working on. One of them is actually being a voiceover for the documentary for Roger Ebert, called Life Itself. And of course, if people aren't familiar with Roger Ebert or who he is, I mean, he is one of the most prolific movie reviewers of all time. And what was it like working on that film and doing the voiceover for that?
Well, that was actually even harder than learning Cantonese, because probably one of the hardest jobs, actually the hardest job I've ever done up this point, because a lot of times when you're voice matching someone, and this is what I did in this case, Roger, of course, was unable to speak for many years. He expressed himself through writing and his blog, his website. So the passages that I was voicing in the film are all based on chapters of his memoir book, Life Itself, which has the same name as the movie. So these are very personal, heartfelt passages about his career, his family, his wife, life and love. And, you don't want to do this as like you're doing an impression, comedic impression of, something that you might hear on a sketch comedy show. Mm-hmm. These are going to be words that people have never heard Roger say out loud, particularly to his wife, Chaz. So this had to be done with great care. And, I worked very closely with director Steve James. He and Roger's wife, Chaz, supplied me with audio tapes, their personal collection of tapes and things where they wanted to have. So we wanted to hear how Roger sounded when he talked to somebody one-on-one. Not necessarily how he talked when he was on, sneak previews with Gene Siskel or on television, talking about a movie. So it was a lot of fun to do. It was very stressful at the same time, but I'm very pleased with the way it came out. We just had the LA premiere here a few days ago this week. Werner Herzog, who's the director who's in the movie, I got a chance to talk to him when we were done, and he was just blown away. He still had tears in his eyes. It was the first time he'd seen the film, and it's great. Makes me feel good when people have that kind of response to what I put into the film, because it was important, I think, to do it right.
Seems like it would be very emotionally draining.
It was. There's a lot of hard stuff in the film. The film's a lot of fun to watch, but there's Roger talked about everything in the book. From his alcoholism to womanizing, all this kind of thing, to working with Gene Siskel and their sort of the relationship that they had that was very much sort of a love-hate relationship. So yeah, it wasn't like it was light bear or anything. It was really somebody opening up their heart and soul to the public and wanting them to know what they were all about as a person. So yeah.
Well, it's quite interesting, of course, the man himself. I know I grew up watching at the movies with Siskel and Ebert, and it's just become a part of pop culture. And for you to help weave that story thread along, to help push his story forward with your voiceover work, and of course, his battle against cancer and all those different things that are in the film. It's definitely one to check out for sure. And I think you guys did a great job and a lot of care and a lot of love went into this project, and it definitely shows through in the film.
Thanks.
Yeah. So now, how about some other stuff? I know that you've been doing some other films. I think you've last year you debuted some of your more of your acting chops in Pink 5, which is kind of like a Star Wars kind of a fan film, if we could say that. Is there any other stuff on the horizon for you that you're going to be actually showing your face and not just your voice?
There could be something out there that might be out there soon.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's cool. Nothing, something that you're just playing a role in, or is it something that maybe you produced or and wrote, or?
There's a little bit of everything in that what you said. I can't really talk about it right now.
Okay.
It's tough. There's the stuff that's out we could talk about all day long. One of the things I forgot to mention, if you're a fan of the movie Planes, the Disney movie Planes, I actually narrated the storybook for that, which is another one of those sort of like game app kind of things, which was a lot of fun to do. That's more for a younger audience, but it was still a lot of fun to be able to read the story and go through that whole thing. Disney loves to do those storybooks, and I love doing them.
I tell you what, they really do work. I can say that I'm literally hopping on a plane every week, and I saw someone next to me with their kid pop open one of those Disney Story apps, and that kid was just entertained the entire flight. Thank goodness. And I look forward to checking that out, especially with the new Planes movie coming out this weekend as well, which is going to be very cool. Now
we were at the screening of the 7D. We were in the studio where they were producing that, and they had the entire lobby dressed like Piston Peak National Park with redwoods and forest rangers and everything else. It was great.
Very nice. Well, once again, we look forward to the show. We look forward to the 7D app. I've played the app myself. It's very challenging. I have not been able to get past like the third level yet because my mind train always just goes overboard. I missed that one jump and it's over. But
you should have had enough practice growing up with Super Mario Brothers.
I should have, but it moves at a breakneck speed. So I encourage everyone to download the 7D app where you can hear because it's free. Yes, absolutely. Collect jewels and play as Sleepy because it's fun to play the Sleepy guy because he has a very special power. He gets to float over and collect all these gems, which is kind of nice. Every dwarf has their own power, so check that out.
Find you cool.
That's the only one I've seen.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, well, there you go.
I didn't realize you could choose what dwarf and all that.
That's right. You can choose your own dwarf.
They unlock a new character every certain number of days. So it started out with just Sleepy, and then Sneezy came in and Happy came in. I'm not sure where they are in the release, but each character came in a certain number of days.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Yeah. Well, speaking of stuff that's already out, and you did allude to this earlier, was Star Wars: The Clone Wars. Of course, the Lost Season, Season 6, is available, as well as the entire series on Netflix right now, where you can listen to the voiceover work of Stephen as he voiced not only Captain Wilhelm Tarkin, but so many other characters, a myriad of them, so many. What is it like now that the show is in the can? The entire series is out there on Netflix, including the rest of the the series that we didn't know we were going to be able to see. What's it like for you now, reflecting back on Star Wars: The Clone Wars and the entire series as a whole, and your part in it?
Well, it was certainly an honor to be a part of it. It was a series that I think really, was the last sort of Star Wars project George Lucas was really involved in on a day-to-day basis. So it was nice to be involved in that. I think it was it was Star Wars for a whole new generation of people, kids. They grew up with that, and it's so funny because I was on the show for 5 seasons, and it's funny to have somebody who's 18 years old come up to you like a Comic-Con or something like that and say, "Oh, I grew up with this Clone Wars." I'm like, "Oh, that's right, you were 12 or 11 when it started." And it's nice to be a part of people's lives in that way. Another thing that I thought was really great about the Clone Wars is it really fleshed out the prequels in a way that the movies just couldn't do. George got a chance to really explore all the avenues that were untouched in films, and we got to create new characters like Colonel Maber Gascon and Maralo Evil, and of course Admiral Wilhelm Tarkin, who is promoted Admiral by the end of the series. So it was great, to be able to kind of play, like everyone calls it, that sandbox, and just flesh out that first series of films with all those backstories, characters. It's of course sad to see it end, but we've got something new to look forward to. Rebels. I'm sure that's going to rock the house, and that's going to have a whole new generation of kids that are going to grow up with Star Wars Rebels, and Clone Wars will be that old show.
Well, you know what though, it's an amazing show, an amazing I guess, as you said, fleshed out the whole prequels. I think that people can look at the prequels and look at Clone Wars as an entire I guess body of work, and see how much of it actually propels a story and just really fleshes out the entire world, as you said. And I think I know that my appreciation of the prequels has definitely changed because of the Clone Wars.
Yeah, I mean, it's of course, it's sad in a way that, we were already recording season 7, and we had some really good stuff in the can there that I'm sure may not ever see the light of day. It may not even be considered canon at this point because it was never produced, but the voice tracks are there, so they could always do something with them if they wanted to, motion comic book or, radio show or who knows what.
You know what? That brings up a great point. Hopefully someday that stuff will be included, and it can be, even if it's not canon, it's still stories that need to be enjoyed and explored, because the writing team and the voice team, everything about it, the sound design, of course the computer graphics, the animation, and of course the direction was all exemplary. And we really, and it's great too that as you leave that the Clone Wars gets an Emmy for that final season that was released on Netflix. That was really cool that happened.
Yeah, it went out with a bang. It was well deserved too, because everybody that worked on this show really put their heart and soul into it. It's one thing when you have people working on, let's say, I can't even give an example, but this Star Wars is different because there's so many people that love the Star Wars movies, so pretty much guaranteed that most of the people that worked on the show really wanted to work on the show and wanted it to be good. I know fans don't always agree with the choices that are made, sometimes writing-wise or character-wise or things like that, but rest assured, when we were doing it, everyone took it very seriously. I would always, aggravate Dave Filoni by asking questions like, well, wait a minute, like who gets the Jedi's lightsaber when he dies and all this kind of stuff. And we'd always have to stop and we'd have a big, 15-minute discussion about these things like that to clarify a point in the script. I mean, everyone there took it very seriously.
It's fascinating. You say that because, you delve into a role, you dive into it, you research it, and you, being a fan of science fiction anyway, like a lot of the different voice actors that appeared on Star Wars: The Clone Wars, are really so invested in the universe and how things work. So to me, you're just asking the kind of questions that all of us watching the series have been wanting to ask. And it's great to hear you all on different panels and different conventions as you talk about these things, kind of expand on what you learn from the process and the questions you ask, because you in turn are asking from, not only to improve your performance as an actor, but just asking as fans. It's got to make sense somehow. Where does it fit into a timeline, and all that other stuff. So we appreciate that. The fact that you definitely are a fan of the genre and the series, and you really helped expand upon what we know of the Star Wars universe at large.
It has to be that way because we've all got images in our head from movies. So sometimes we look at the script and we're like, we just want to understand it better. I remember, and they never let us know what was going to happen. You never knew, like, when somebody showed up, if it was a multi-story arc, or if you were going to get killed off or whatever. And I remember one time, this was very probably during the last season, maybe, and we were just kind of talking about the fate of Ahsoka Tano, and I was standing next to Ashley, and we were just kind of like, throwing theories back and forth, and, whether she's going to live or she's going to die, or whether Order 66 will be the end of her. And I kind of turned to Ashley and said, well, of course, unless maybe, she leaves the Jedi Order. And Ashley's like, oh, Dave, did you hear what Steve just said? What if Ahsoka Tano leaves the Jedi? And you can see just Dave probably fuming, and they're like, they're already, they had probably already figured it out and hadn't told us. We're letting the cat out of the bag or trying to figure it out on their own. We never got a definitive answer on that day, but it turned out to be that was the case.
And that's the exciting part about it. You all speculate like the rest of us, and that's just a brilliant story. I could just imagine Dave all of a sudden just turning beet red.
He's like shooting lightning bolts at you. He's like, keep your mouth closed.
He's like, exactly. Exactly.
Like, I didn't know. I'm just throwing stuff out there.
So looking back at the show, now you voiced so many characters, like Gascon and of course Tarkin and Moralo Eval. So which one of those characters, when in the myriad that you played in Star Wars: The Clone Wars, is your favorite? I happen to think I know what your answer will be, but which one is it?
Well, I think Tarkin's top of the list. He's just, just because such a big fan of Peter Cushing and what he did with that character, and it's such a privilege to be able to continue that and have the fans accept it. It's just really, it's fantastic. He was such a great character. I remember when Star Wars first came out, and I had not seen any clips from it or anything, just, pictures in the newspaper and magazines. When Peter Cushing walked on the screen, I was like, oh my gosh, this movie has everything. And it's like, I'm sold right now.
Right.
Enjoy the rest of it no matter what happens, We got spaceships, we got robots, we got Peter Cushing. Come on.
Yeah, people forget that all of those actors, except for the likes of Peter Cushing and Alec Guinness, were pretty much the anchors that gave the film, some legs. It added to, these are really good actors in this film. I think maybe we should check it out. They're the only ones that really had the acting cred, were those two.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think I'd seen Alec Guinness in Bridge Over the River Kwai,
right?
And things like that. Lawrence of Arabia. But it's such a surprise to see him in that film as well. But yeah, Peter Cushing really did it for me because I had seen a lot of pictures of Peter Cushing in Famous Monsters of Filmland magazine, but I hadn't really seen him in too many movies as a kid. There weren't a lot coming to the drive-in where I lived, and I didn't see that many on TV. Every region had their, you didn't always see the same movies depending on where you lived. In the United States in those days, a lot of local TV had their own programming, so it was a real treat for me to see him there.
Right on. Well, we're wrapping things up, Stephen. I appreciate all the time you've dedicated to our listeners. As always, one of our favorite guests to be on the show. You need to check out the 7D that's premiering on all the Disney channels. You got the Disney XD, Disney Junior, Disney Channel premiering on the 7th, just right here, right around the corner. And he plays Sleepy, so definitely check that out. Don't get sleepy. He's going to keep you energized for sure. And download that 7D app on iTunes as well, or the iOS App Store. So please check that out. As we round things up, do you have any upcoming events or conventions that maybe you want to plug?
Well, right now I'm busy working on publicity for the 7D and also for life itself, so that's keeping me very busy. But I certainly hope to see everybody next year at the D23 Expo and also at the Star Wars Celebration. I think both of those are going to be a lot of fun next year.
Oh, absolutely. And where can people check you out? You're all over the place. Facebook, Twitter, and I know YouTube. You've got a YouTube channel. So where can everybody check out what you've got going on?
I guess, Facebook is the main place, that and Twitter being secondary. But you can really find out what's going on my Facebook fan page. Not the personal page. That was just an old holdover from the days when Facebook said, in order to have a fan page, you must have a personal page. So there you go. But I usually communicate with everybody through the fan page, so that's the place to go.
Okay, well, check that out. We will also have that in our show notes when we've just moved servers and we're getting ready to put all of our old podcasts and all of our old shows online, including the several interviews we've had with you in the past, talking about your favorite Disney things, your favorite Star Wars things. So please be on the lookout for that as part of the We Be Geeks podcast network. So thank you so much for your time, Stephen. We look forward to seeing you next week, and may the Force be with you.
And also with you.
And you see, that is why Stephen Stanton is awesome. Thank you so much for joining us, Stephen. And thanks for hanging out with me, Kristen. I do appreciate it. Have a great 4th of July holiday. Coming up, we've got Disney Trip Tips at 1 p.m. here on Sorcerer Radio. And over the weekend, we've got starting at 7 p.m. Eastern, Rebel Force Radio, followed by the Mighty Marvel Geeks. So you get your square dose of all things Disney, Marvel, Star Wars, all here on Sorcerer Radio. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Twitter at WDW Tiki Room, coming soon as a podcast to the We Be Geeks Network, and we're very excited of that. So in the meantime, please stay safe this 4th of July, and we will see you next time right here on Sorcerer Radio. We'll see you real soon.
It's been imitated, but never replicated.
The WDW Tiki Room with Kristen and Aljon. Sorcerer Radio, srsounds.com.
Your attention, please.
Sorcerer Radio is a fan-run, award-winning internet radio station that has been entertaining Disney fans for over a decade.
We have dedicated this happy place to the ideals, the dreams, and the hard facts that have created America.
With many weeks' worth of Disney park music, attraction audio, live shows every weekday, as well as our podcasts, you'll easily be transported to your favorite vacation destination anytime, while at home, work, or on the go.
Remain seated, please. Permanecer sentados, por favor.
Download our free apps for iOS, Android devices. Plan and book your next trip to the Disney parks. Interact with the Disney fan community and get the latest news stories at srsounds.com. Broadcasting the magic every day.
Who are you, if I might ask?
Sorcerer Radio, srsounds.com. Sorcerer Radio, srsounds.com.
Leave your show comments, requests, and discussion topics on the new WDW Tiki Room voicemail.
Call 850-888-TIKI. That's 850-888-8454. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Facebook at WDW Tiki Room.
This podcast is a joint production of the Sorcerer Radio Network, WDW Tiki Room, and the We Be Geeks Podcast Network. WDW Tiki Room is not affiliated with the Walt Disney Company or its holdings and is intended for entertainment purposes.